You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
It's a big world out there, and you're just looking for a pat on the back or head. You run around the city, searching for a place to bark, working your tail off with your nose to the ground, sniffing for a few scraps, hoping someone will throw you a bone. You take each lead, collar after collar, hoping one day to take a bite out of success and become the top dog. Fortunately, you come home each day to open arms, open cans, a drink waiting for you, and a comfortable place in front of the TV set. You know you've got it good, really good, because after all, it's a doggy dog world out there. Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with your host, pet expert and award-winning author Liz Palaika, and this week's co-hosts Kate Abbott and Petra Burke.
Hi, welcome to It's a Doggy Dog World. I'm your host, Liz Palaika, and with me today, as always, are my good friends Petra Burke. Hello. And Kate Abbott.
How do?
And before we get into our topic today, I want to say thank you to all our listeners. It's been very interesting lately. We've been contacted by listeners in Switzerland and Australia and New Zealand, China and South Africa. It's wonderful to hear from dog owners all over the world. It's just what a small world it is.
It's a little scary and a little humbling.
Yeah. But also a lot of fun. So feel free to keep contacting us. We love to hear from you. If you've got a topic you'd like us to cover, drop us an email here at Pet Life Radio, and we'll certainly take a look at it and think about it and see if it's something we can cover.
There aren't many topics about dogs that we won't talk about.
Yeah, true.
That's true. If any.
And we can bring almost any topic back to dogs.
Yeah,
that's true too.
All right, today's topic is on play and the importance of play. And we decided to cover this because Kate has done some private training recently with a few clients where she's asked, what do you do to play with your dog? And they had no answer.
And it's not often that I'm struck speechless. But when they said, well, one client in particular said, I don't play with my dog, and she looked uncomfortable, and I said, well, why not? She goes, well, I don't know. It's kind of vaguely along the lines of play is a sin.
Really?
Again, I was speechless.
Oh, that's sad.
Yes.
So I immediately gave her a myriad of scientific reasons.
True.
That you should, even though, just fun comes at the top of the list for me.
Right.
But there are a lot of reasons to play.
And the fun, let's go after that first. The fun of playing with your dog is all about relationship building. Let's make that relationship with your dog the best it can be for so many reasons.
And a stress reliever for you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they make you laugh, they do silly things, it reduces your stress overall.
And
see, all that came under scientific reasons.
Wow.
Okay. She needed justification.
Sure.
To play with her dog.
Wow.
We take it as a given. Of course you do. But, yeah. Anyway, there is another reason people don't play with their dogs.
Why?
Because it's not fun for them.
Well, true. If the dog is out of control, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, too, when we talk about how to play with your dog. But true, if the dog is out of control and...
then it's actually not fun for the person.
Sure.
Okay. And that I understand.
And an out-of-control dog can hurt the person, too.
Yeah.
But, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. When thinking about the scientific reasons for play, I did do some research, and there have been a few studies on play. In recent years, it's become more important both for children and adults and mammals. I mean, I'm not saying whether SeaWorld should keep their mammals or not. I'm not going into that topic because that's a hot button issue. But for the mammals that they have, they do play with them because it is better for their mental health. Near us, the San Diego Zoological Society is huge on environmental enrichment and play. And you often go by enclosures that have food dispensing toys or treats and foods that are hidden all over the place. They know the importance of play. And granted, it's not as interactive with a keeper as it would be a dog and an owner. But still, it's the importance of play.
Well, this time of year, they start giving, like, the polar bears
pumpkins. Sure.
And just to play with.
And the elephants and so forth.
But that's nature.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's nature, you watch them out there in the wild, they play.
Yeah.
They'll find anything to play with.
Right.
There are so many benefits
It's just-
to play, and I suspect Liz is going to talk about them.
Yes, we are. And let's talk about the physical importance of play. One of these studies that I looked at, a researcher at the University of Lethbridge in Alberta, Canada, his name is Sergio Pellis, and I apologize if I pronounced it wrong. But one of the comments he made is that the experience of play changes the connections of the neurons at the front end of your brain. And I'm sure there's a better name for it than the front end of your brain, but that's what he said.
Frontal lobe.
He was
layman's terms.
Yeah, he was writing it for us laymen. And he said, and without play experience, those neurons aren't charged or changed. So play actually changes our brain.
In good ways.
In good ways, yeah. And it said in puppyhood or childhood or kittenhood or for baby horses.
Or adulthood.
But he's talking specifically about the young as they're growing and developing.
Yeah.
He says that play prepares that young brain for life, and not just for life, but also for learning. He says there needs to be supervised play, and there needs to be free play. And he said free play with no coaches, no umpires, no rule books. And Kate and I were talking about this earlier with the so-called risky playgrounds, which when we were all growing up, I know when my folks and I lived in New England, I would take off on a Saturday, bring my lunch with me, and come back in time for dinner. And I would be out in the woods and climbing trees and pretending I was a cowboy and an Indian or a horse, and I would be jumping over logs and whinnying. And
Yeah, we grew up with that. Yeah,
my
now there's a
imagination
name for it for the kids these days, and to us that was normal.
Right,
That was normal
right.
play.
But that was risky play.
It was risky play. I mean, there was one time, and my mother doesn't know this, and hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast, but one time, I always drank out of this spring. It was a crystal clear spring that came out of a rock. And one time I bent down to put my face in the water, and there was a snake looking back at me. And I didn't freak out. I just looked at him and said, "Hi, Mr. Snake," and got my drink and then moved away slowly. I knew enough to do it slowly. Found out later he was a water moccasin.
Oh.
But you know what? He didn't bite me. I didn't disturb him. That was risky play. But, sometimes
But that's one of the benefits that they've talked about with risky play is you learn that there is danger.
Yeah.
You learn to, what do I want to say?
mitigate it.
Evaluate it.
Yeah.
Decide what the risks are and how you're going to deal with it.
Sure. I didn't freak out.
And that's a very valuable skill.
Yeah, I didn't panic. But from then on, I looked for him before I got a drink.
Okay.
I still drank out of that spring, but I looked for
But
him.
you learned from that risk
Right,
management.
right. And now I know all our listeners who are mothers are probably going, "Oh my God, no, not..." Yes, and I know it is risky, and I was very lucky. But,
But to never have any risk doesn't teach you a lot of valuable stuff, too.
right.
There's got to be a middle ground.
With our puppy classes, we have on a different night all of the puppies that are enrolled in the puppy class. We do the AKC Puppy Star program as well as our own puppy program. It's combined. Can come on a different night for an hour for puppy playtime. Now, this is a supervised puppy play. In other words, we don't allow dogs to become bullies. We'll give them a timeout if they get too excited.
All of the dogs there are of the appropriate age, and they have already been cleared for class so that we know they've had their
Vaccinations and are healthy.
And we're not asking babies to play with teenagers or adults.
And sometimes we'll set up an X-pen to let teeny tiny ones or scared ones be on the periphery. But it's awesome to watch the changes from the first puppy play and as they grow up.
There is a number of dogs right now currently in it, but one in particular, the first time he came to puppy play, and he was one of the older dogs.
Older puppies.
Older puppies, excuse me. Yeah, and he had not been around other dogs. He was very people-oriented. But the first time they came to puppy play, and I said, drop the leash, let him go, and the other puppies are running around, he was terrified. He jumped onto the bench next to his owners and sat there and looked wide-eyed and shaking. Oh my God, they're just running around like wild Indians. Now, any person that wanted to pet him, oh, hi, how are you? Any dog that came near him, no, get away, you're crazy. So last week was his last playtime. He was out there as part of he would lead the charge, running around the field with the other ones chasing him, or turn around and be part of the pack chasing somebody else. Rough and tumble, run, play. He has learned how to use his mouth without biting hard. He has learned that the other puppies can bite him, and he can say, ouch, that's too hard, stop it. Or, yeah, this is fun, let's chew on each other some more. His confidence level in the rest of his life as well was pretty good. Now it's even better.
Mm-hmm. And we see that development in the puppies. And I think it's so much more effective in playing with other puppies at the same stage of life rather than an older dog. And an older dog can be a good playmate and can teach them, as my older dog Bashir has done with my puppy Bones.
Sure.
Bones would be a much different dog, I think, if Bashir hadn't given him all that guidance.
And the last puppy play, Bashir sat at the gate and went, they're just being incredibly too wild.
Oh, well, we had
just let me in there and I will settle them all down.
Yes, we had a big group yesterday, and it got rowdy at times, and Bashir was horrified. Oh, let me in there. I will tell them to calm down. Yes.
In my more paranoid moments, when I'm really doing crisis management, and I'm worried about this one, okay, I don't want him to be a bully, this one's scared, or da-da, and I get too caught up in it, that's when I call it's like taking, second graders and giving them all knives and saying, go play.
True.
But the reality is that dogs are born with their knives. They have to learn how to manage them.
Yes. Yes.
So if they don't, then they have a high probability of using their knives to kill. Right. Or at least damage.
Hurt.
As opposed to learning how to use them appropriately, just a little bit.
Right.
So when they're playing and having fun, I get to giggle and laugh and have fun. But sometimes it is like, they're all playing with knives.
Right.
But that's part of risky play. And we are not going to defang all of our dogs to make them safe.
That was one of the points that was made in this study also, is that one of the functions of play is to prepare the brain for social interactions. Yeah. That it gives the puppies a chance to learn how to interact with others. And I think it goes beyond just puppies playing with other puppies, learning how to engage with other puppies, but it gives them skills in how to engage with people, too. One of the puppies bites another puppy too hard. The puppy being bitten goes, ow, and refuses to play with him anymore. And the puppy who's been too rough goes, that didn't work the way I wanted it to work.
And if they don't get the message, then a human steps in.
Right.
And then they get it outside. But that isn't... It needs to be supervised to a degree.
Right. And that's the big difference between the puppy play that we have and taking a puppy to the dog park. We usually have at least 2 trainers supervising, if not 3, and sometimes even 4. And I know last night there was, 3 of us, and our eyeballs were going constantly because it was a pretty rowdy group. It's been so hot, and last night was cooler, and boy, they all felt it.
But it is supervised with our rules that we teach.
Right.
Oh, it's been a couple of months now, but there was a puppy who really wanted to be a bully. He really did. And it was just fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to make the other puppies squeal.
Right.
And so I was constantly interrupting him, saying, you know what, knock that off, time out, here in my hands, calm down.
Right.
We got to the point where all I had to do was give him a hairy eyeball, and he'd say, oh, right, okay, and control himself.
Well, we had a golden retriever last night who was being pretty rowdy, and she needed to be taken in hand a couple times.
Sometimes they get so excited, the adrenaline takes over their thought processes.
Right.
Yeah. But they are learning social interaction, primarily puppy to puppy, but also human to puppy.
Sure, yeah. So, anything else we need to talk about of why it's important? I mean, I think we covered that. Shall we talk about some games?
Games are great.
Games. One game that we do like that has gotten a bad rap from many trainers is tug of war. Now, I have in articles and books, I have cautioned dog owners about tug of war because I think tug of war games are one of those things that they can be wonderful and they can teach the puppy and it can be a rewarding game, or it can go horribly wrong.
Well, look at the name. Tug of war.
I think tug needs rules to be played correctly.
Right. And that's the part about making the play fun for both human and dog. And if it becomes resource guarding, then it's not a game anymore. Then it's a battle.
So let's talk about how to teach the rules with tug of war. Or what should the rule be?
Well, and I did that this morning. So I did a private training with a young terrier, and he did not know the rules of tug. And his rules were hang on and just shake, carry on, pull back as hard as you can until finally the people get tired and let you have it. Yay, I won. And then you run off and hide it somewhere. So I used a long enough toy that he could shake and have all that fun. But at the very beginning, he got it for about 2 seconds before my other hand was shoving a treat near his nose. And then I just waited. And it was a really good treat. And he went, huh? Oh, can't take the treat unless you spit out the toy. So he disengaged, kind of a little bit like, really? Is this just a trick you're going to... And I let him have the treat, told him he was wonderful. He swallowed. I shoved that toy back in his face. So as I played for a few minutes, I let him shake a little bit more, get a little more excited about it. Then my body language went still, and I shoved that treat out. And as he was more easily giving up the toy to take the treat, then I started telling him, give! Oh, that's lovely. Isn't that wonderful to give? And within a very short period of time, this is a grown-up dog, I could say give just a second before I produced the treat, and he was already trying to disengage. So I start at the end of the game. The end of the game is the puppy dog having enough self-control to give up this desirable thing to get something else. And that's what I was explaining to the owners. And you slowly build up the worth, the value of the toy. The longer you play with it, the more he shakes and wrestles with it, the more valuable it becomes. So at the beginning, keep it short and sweet. But then, let him gradually get more excited. Now, if you play for 5 minutes and you offer him a treat and he goes, no, I won't give this up for anything in the world, well, then you have pushed too far. Okay? Then you need to start the game back at a slower speed and build up. I mean, you don't take somebody and throw them, teach them, oh, word analogy warning. Sorry. It just flashed on me. You don't put somebody in a car and say, go 120 miles an hour and then stop. You know, you stop at 5 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. You stop at 10 miles an hour. And you build up their ability.
But 120 is so much fun.
Yes. Those of you that like that.
That's Liz's kind of game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So another one that we play a lot of are Find It games.
Oh, yeah.
Those are fun. I mean, I'm doing it now. I probably mentioned the early podcast. I have now a puppy. He's now 6 months old.
They grow so fast.
They grow so fast. Yeah. But what's been fun is doing the Find It game. Initially to teach him what we're trying to say is having the puppy move. Well, actually, you can stand next to the puppy and just toss a treat in front of him and tell him to find the treat. And then toss a little further and tell him to find it. We're now to where we actually have gotten to use a ball. That's his first thing. And now we toss a ball and tell him to find the ball. That's always a fun game to do. He's also learning how to find the other dogs, Yeah. Or the chickens. So we're gradually getting to all these other little places. And it's so nice because he looks at you like, what do I need to find? And then he does it. And when he does, it's like, yes! And it's a big old party. Every time.
So in scientific terms, you use the treat first.
We started
as
with
an
the treat.
immediate motivator,
yes,
and reward in and of itself to find an object. Mm-hmm. And then as he starts to understand what find means, then he can apply that concept to other objects or people or living things.
Exactly.
And it's still fun. Exactly. Now this morning with that same terrier, I dropped a treat like 6 inches away on the floor and said, find it. And he went, where? Who is it? What?
Yeah.
That was too much for him.
Mm-hmm. They may have to
I had to back off to just making him watch me as I placed it on the floor, took my finger off and said, find it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he did not know how to even play that game.
It's amazing a lot of dogs don't.
And if they don't, back it up. You remember when I first got my Jack Russell Terrier.
Yeah, there is one who didn't know how to play.
He did not know how to play. He had spent 6 months in the
Poor Cisco didn't either.
Right.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had been deprived. So
Yeah.
we had to teach our dogs how to play.
And Cisco, even now at 4, still has some issues playing with other dogs. Sometimes he gets too loud. Sometimes he gets too rough. He's much, much better.
Oh, I was going to say,
He's
definitely.
much, much better. But I can still say the difference, Cisco was a rescue. Bones was a puppy I raised from puppyhood. Bashir I raised from puppyhood. So Bashir and Bones from a breeder from puppyhood. Cisco, a rescue, was a little bit older. He was still a puppy, but he was an older puppy. He was getting ready to go into adolescence. The difference in their skills, because I play with my dogs, and they play with each other. Poor Cisco's skills are just not the same.
It's not as innate for him.
Right.
It's not as unthinking.
And that's it exactly. He has to think about it. And sometimes when he gets overexcited and he's not thinking, he doesn't automatically go to those play skills like the other dogs do. So,
but you notice that's interesting because my puppy's a half brother to Liz's Bones, and their breeder taught the puppies from the very beginning of what play is and different objects.
oh, she starts so early and it's so wonderful.
Oh my gosh! And it's anything from pots and pans to
Different
creatures. I remember she had these funky creatures, spidery, weird things in the pen with Poncho's group.
Yeah.
Scared me, but puppies are all over it and how much fun that is.
And empty oatmeal cardboard containers and
Anything,
squeaky
everything.
toys and different surfaces and ramps to walk up and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And then compared to where Cisco came from,
Right.
goat farm.
Yeah.
It was just goats,
Yeah.
It's just interesting there in itself. I know one of the other fun games, and we teach it in our class. Yeah, I always loved the dogs to use their nose. And Poncho's extremely treat motivated, as you guys know. And having the a treat in the hand, or one in one hand, nothing in the other, and have him use his nose.
That find it game again.
Find it game. And just having it just open, he's still a baby, so I just have my fist open just a little bit with a really good smelly treat. And he sniffs both of them, and all of a sudden he pushes on one.
Pardon us, that's Kate's Walter. Apparently he heard a ghost. There are, by the way, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dogs in here with us as we're recording.
And Walter's on guard duty.
Yeah,
Walter thinks he's on guard duty.
But anyway, with the game hiding in your hands, just have a really good smelling treat. It could be good smelling cheese or hot dogs. Have it one hand, have it not tightly clinched, just enough where the dog figures out which hand it is and get rewarded to him. And switch back and forth. And that's a fun little game to
Okay,
do.
so the game for you is, can he find the treat and let you know?
Using his nose. Instead of the name game, it's the nose game.
But the other stuff they're learning. What happens if the dog says the treat's in there and I will chew my way through your knuckles?
Oh, that wouldn't be good, would
There
it?
you go. So now you can teach the puppy dog, don't just bite at a treat.
Exactly.
Ask me to open up my hand. So they learn to nuzzle and lick on you and say, can I have it? Because there it
Their
is.
version of please.
So now they're learning manners, and again, to be careful with those knives
Yeah, exactly.
in the process of playing a game. So yes, it's just darn fun, but look at how the other stuff that you're teaching a puppy dog.
Another one that...
Excuse me. It also teaches them that you have wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And if they behave correctly, they will get some of that wonderful stuff. And much more personal way than just, here's food in a bowl.
Exactly.
Another game that's a lot of fun is to use the dog's desire to chase stuff and the flirt pole.
Oh my gosh.
And Kate actually makes flirt poles that our students can purchase, and she uses lunch whips for horses
In bright, beautiful colors.
in bright neon colors, and makes
Fleece-braided toys in the matching colors.
which the dog doesn't really care about the colors, but the owners do.
Yes.
And you use that to play chase games But it also combines the tug-of-war game and the give to give up the toy. So the dog has no idea that it's an educational game. He gets to chase the toy that's twitching and going around on the end of this equine lunge whip, which you can also use like a bamboo fishing pole if it's strong enough. But
not fishing line, though.
Not fishing line. No. But the lunge whips are nicer because they have a rope on it.
They're sturdy. I went through a lot of variations. I started with fishing poles, which usually I'd end up breaking off the top third. But I just use the bottom 2/3 and continue playing. But again, not with fishing line, but with a light twine. And I even tried a PVC pipe.
Oh, I bet that was quite brittle.
It wasn't so much brittle, but it was a two-handed, awkward to use it. It was heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy like that.
Yeah.
And different toys and different lengths. But the lunge whips, they have the great grip on them already to hold on to.
And that just a little bit of flexibility, the pole itself, when the dog grabs
They're
it.
They're about 6 feet. The rigid portion is about 6 feet. And then the continuation of the rope is another 7 feet or so. And then you add the toy onto that. So, particularly for people that have some medical issues, or they're just older and their dog is young, and you get to stand there and flick this thing around. And
the dogs love it.
Oh my gosh, they go crazy.
And you combine that play with the lunge whip with the toy on the end with your give that you would teach with the tug of war. Swap the toy for a treat, teach him give.
Bring it.
Bring it back. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of learning opportunities that go along with that play.
I worked on this toy, making it easy to use, because it became so valuable for teaching my Jack Russell. Mm-hmm. I mean, terriers are meant to go off and do stuff on their own. I really wanted him to bond with me. Mm-hmm. So I needed to find a reason for him to bond with me other than I just give him food in a warm lap.
Sure.
So that the adrenaline rush that he got from chasing stuff was also me and not just the lizards in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So yes, I make them, but they also at the same time get a 2-page handout on how to use it. Start just with the toy and the give, and then let them have a little more rope and the give. The nice thing about having the toy attached is you don't want the puppy dog to grab the toy and run off to the far end of the yard and say the game is over.
Right.
I've got this thing. As the dog has better skills, I can use it to teach even higher self-control. Puppy dogs sit and wait. And then the first time you even touch the toy, they're probably going to break from their weight. You put them back in it. So now I can have my dog sit, wait, and I'm flicking the toy right past their nose. And the entire body is quivering. And then I release them and tell them to kick. And they get to go run and play. So delay of the start of the game is another. I've just found so many uses for teaching while running off energy and having a blast and giggling and laughing myself.
And it's all for dogs of all sizes.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I mean, we demo it in class from the little dogs, and I've got Poms, and then I've got the Aussies and the English Shepherd, and same lunge whip, same lunge, or flirt pole, we should say. And then in class, we show it anywhere from the little Euro dogs, the Jack Russells, up to the Labs.
Now, I will say I do play it slightly different with Bashir, who's much bigger than my other two, and very muscular, even at 10 years old. When he grabs the toy, I let go of the pole.
Right.
And let it go. Because as strong as he is, and as powerful, and as hard running, and as competitive as he is, when he grabs the toy, he hits it hard. And if he's continuing to run, I don't want to yank his head or neck. So I let go of the pole. He drags it off a little bit. I ask him to bring it back, and then we start all over. Mm-hmm. So I think with some dogs, there's a little variation in the game.
Right in my safety
safety
portion of the handout. But I've also started attaching the toy to the lunge whip by using bungee cord.
Yeah.
So that if the dog does grab it and you're not quick enough, there's at least a reduction in the amount of jerking.
Right. Now, another game, which has actually no educational value whatsoever, but is a fun game that you laugh at, blowing bubbles,
Oh, yeah.
letting your dog play with the water from the hose, setting up a sprinkler and letting your dog play in it. Remember Riker playing with the sprinkler?
Oh,
He
yeah.
loved it.
He absolutely loved that.
That does bring a point for me. We saw a couple of dogs the other day that they were hyper and they were adrenaline junkies.
Right.
And they were playing the game of chase the flashlight or chase the
laser. Yeah.
Oh.
We're not real fans of that.
The issue I see there is that there's no conclusion to the game except you turn off the light. And it's very unsatisfying. It leaves the dog going, I never caught anything.
Right.
So I do not recommend those.
Right.
But, you know,
right.
chasing the water and chasing
the
the
bubbles.
That they get to, yes, they got it.
Mm-hmm. And when I play bubbles, I'm the one blowing the bubbles, and I'm encouraging the dog, and woohoo, yay, you got it, awesome, get it. Yeah. And the same thing with the water and the sprinklers. Yes, the sprinklers going round and round and round, and the water's coming out. But all these games I'm a part of, even if I'm not in the water with the sprinkler, which I am not, I'm encouraging the dog and laughing and having fun. So it's still the dog and
It's
I.
still a partnership. Yep.
Right. Now, some other games that we've talked about in previous podcasts, but certainly need to be brought up again because they are interactive with the dog and owner, and those are the brain games.
Love those games. Love those.
I mean, not just us. I mean, the dogs. You see, if we take any of those brain games out, all our guys are like, yeah.
We are now at the point where we have 2 plastic bins
Yeah.
filled with various of these games, and every now and then we'll take them down to a group class and
Load
them out, load them up,
load
and
'em.
spread them out around the and just to watch the owners and the dogs have a great time out there.
First, it's good for the owner, one, to participate in the game with their dog, but also with many of the games, there's some teaching involved. The owner has to use their teaching skills that we're trying to teach in obedience classes, because it's not just sit down, stay, but it's about teaching the owner how to communicate with their individual dog.
You know, and I think
And
that
to
part
read
is
their dog.
well, that part alone is complicated.
Yeah.
Because you'd be amazed how many of these simple little brain games you set it down and the owner looks at you like,
What do I do?
what do I do?
Or they just look at their dog and go, okay, go ahead. And the
Yeah,
dog looks
yeah.
at them, what do I do?
Yeah.
And they both sit there and go home.
Yeah, they both look at the game, look at each other. What do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the brain game for the owner and the dog.
So the owner has to recognize when the dog is stymied and jump in and communicate to the dog how to do it. Mm-hmm. Then they get to work together and laugh together.
Right, right. A good example of it, and again, we've mentioned this on a previous podcast, I know we have, but one trip we were in a cabin in the Redwoods in Northern California.
That was one of our best trips.
Yeah,
That was so much
and
fun.
many of the days we were walking the dogs all through the redwood forest, and then one day it rained.
God, I missed that rain. That was so cool. Rain!
Water
What
from
a
the
concept.
sky. We are in such a drought in California that
It's bad.
I've almost forgotten the definition of rain. It's water falling.
I
right?
believe so,
From
yes.
out of the
From,
sky,
yeah.
And not from a
Yeah.
sprinkler.
Not from a sprinkler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Those white, gray things up there. I think water come out of it.
I've heard of them.
Clouds.
Clouds. Clouds.
no,
Yeah.
isn't that iCloud where you store your data? Anyway, we had gone to town and picked up some groceries, and we saw, I think it was in a CVS, a wooden brain game. Interactive toy, I think, is their correct name. We call them brain games. And so we're sitting in the cabin, one-room cabin, and I believe we had, 6 dogs with us?
It was about the time we noticed that Noah was going by.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's raining so hard.
Noah and his ark were going by, and we had 6 dogs in the cabin with us, bored out of their skulls.
climbing the walls.
Yeah.
So to prevent dog fights and humans killing dogs, we made 5 dogs do downstays while 1 dog got to play with the brain game. Mm-hmm. And after about 2 times around of all the dogs, they were tired.
Yeah.
Their brains were tired, and they were ready to take naps. And I think that's when we had played with the games before, but I think that's when we became devotees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think now when we go on a trip, we make sure we have at least one with us.
We always pack them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are times when we cannot exercise them physically enough. But mental exercise, physical exercise, and emotional exercise.
Mm-hmm.
As I told my clients this morning, you can be just as tired sitting at the desk doing 3 hours of tax returns
Oh, gosh, yeah.
as playing a round of golf. It's different kind of tired, but they both make it, and you need a little of both.
Yeah.
Or all three, really.
I mean, we stress that to our students all the time. Physical and mental.
Holding a stay is a mental and emotional exercise.
Well, another dog plays. Oh, yeah. We had dogs sitting, quivering, and And then one last type of play, which is play and training, and again, we've talked about it on previous podcasts, but it bears repeating, trick training.
Yeah.
People tend to think that trick training is only for fancy dogs or dogs going to do commercials.
Listen to me. I don't care if he rolls over.
Yeah, but trick training.
And I'd say you're such a grouch.
Yeah.
Heck, I've written 2 books on trick training. Trick training is training. You're still communicating with your dog. You're still motivating to have him to work for you, but yet you're doing fun stuff and you laugh. Mm-hmm. You laugh. All our dogs know tricks.
I almost wish that people would approach sit down, stay, and come as though they were tricks.
And sometimes they do. Sometimes we can get that attitude conveyed.
If that's the way we taught our classes, we wouldn't get as many, because most people are just like, I need the dog to stop driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And I want to stop him from running out the front door.
But I wish they would use the same voice
Right.
for sit, stay as they do for shake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or play dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sit. Mm-hmm. And come. It's still obeying you.
Yeah.
But first we have to help them get the puppy dog under control most of the time.
Right.
And then we can teach them how much fun it is.
Right.
And trick training is a blast. I mean, they've got to remember, they have to know the commands, do the physical action, and everybody's laughing.
And sometimes it can be quite useful.
Yes.
So it's used to be on TV, you saw the dog bringing you your pipe and slippers.
Yes.
So in a way, that's a trick.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't have a pipe, but my puppy dog brings me my slippers.
Bashir goes out and gets my newspaper every morning.
Theoretically, I mean, it's a fine line between obedience and play, but we come at it as though it's play and a trick.
Yeah.
But yes, they're doing wonderful stuff, and
Okay,
a
so
lot of our service dog
I
training is
purposely
done.
I purposely drop at least one damp towel to the bathroom floor so that Cisco can pick it up and take it to the hamper for me. Now, is it easier for me to carry it to the hamper? Of course, but he gets so much joy out of it.
Mm-hmm. And I've started doing that with Poncho with socks.
There you go.
He'll sees me drop the sock, he looks at it, picks it up, brings it to me. I'm like, thank you, good boy.
Beautiful.
So now we're doing it with socks.
Yeah.
And eventually you work
You
up
know?
to the hamper.
Exactly.
And if he has the joy of putting your dirty socks in the hamper, he's much less likely to take it off and eat it.
Yeah. Right? Exactly.
So again, I keep making it useful, see?
Yeah.
Trying to come up with justification reasons. There are scientific reasons to have fun. When you laugh, you increase the oxygenation in your blood, and you use the muscles in your abdomen, and
All right.
you
Right.
endorphins.
All right. We need to calm Kate down now. So, on that note, play with your dog, make Kate a happy person.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on our next podcast. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Having a rough day? Longing for the dog days of summer? Think your fun furry friend lives a dog's life? Well, find out everything you're begging to know as Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with pet expert and award-winning author Liz Palaika. Every dog has his day, and you'll find out how to make your dog's day fun and rewarding. Every week, on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.